Host, record. Okay, we can begin. Go for it.
Okay, excellent. So we are wanting to follow up on a request that we've had to record and then publish the community node testing sessions that are happening every Tuesday at 1400 UTC. And there are some concerns related to that and possibly related to a misunderstanding of what's happening in this session. So I want to just give a real recap of what this session is and who's attending, and then talk about a little bit about the concerns, and we'll take a few minutes. So the session is designed to be a very hands-on testing session. Node operators come with their node running or are able to get up and running very soon into the session. And then what we do is Meta and the development team walk us through a variety of scenarios so that we can test things related to the blockchain. So for example, we test deploying contracts across the network. We test proposing blocks. We watch for the synchronization of block counts, excuse me, across the node operators. And as part of this, it's a very interactive session. It's not didactic. It's not really a tutorial, although people are there to help, and we do help when people have questions. Also, the other thing that comes up in this session is we're doing a lot in the chat window, which means that people are posting questions in chat, or they're posting their logs when they're having problems. And so we recorded it the other day just to see what that was like. And one of the things that we learned is in Zoom, if you're sharing your screen and you're sharing your chat window, when you look at the video recording, your chat window is not there. Zoom takes that out. I don't know how, it's mysterious, but Meta's chat window did not capture in the video yesterday. So if you go and watch a video of it, you just see Meta screen and you hear, we talked a lot what's seen in chat. So the concern is how valuable is a video like that when you can't really follow along in a meaningful way. And then the other concern is, people show up there and we're sharing a lot of IP information. It's on the screens, and people are sharing about their infrastructure. And while I think it's one thing for people to show up in a group at a set time and share that information and kind of share a sensibility of, I'm doing this with others who've also made a choice to be here, I think it's very different when you publicize this broadly and people are just kind of watching and potentially maliciously acting on what they're seeing. That's my 2 cents on the kind of the risks and the disadvantages. Happy to support recording if that's what the community wants.
So thank you, Kelly. That was a lovely and informed summary. I really appreciate that. Here's what I've found experientially. First of all, we've long been aware of the whole Zoom chat thing.
Yeah, that's not an issue. That's an easy fix. I can get both captured through OBS. That's not a problem.
Yep, right, exactly. So we found a way to technically solve that problem a long time ago. And then the other thing is, I think it's a really good to be sensitive around. Sorry, there's some kind of echo. Really good to be sensitive around internet infrastructure that people may want not to be suddenly hacked or attacked because they published IP addresses. So what we can do is we can have a delay in terms of the videos that are broadcast, so that we go through and we scrub or black out anything that's related to sensitive infrastructure issues that people don't want to see. So that's a way to address that. The final thing I want to point out is that, second to last thing, is that I've found that people really like the the interactive nature, that they have been drawn in by the technical back and forth. Like even the Casper, the Casper stand-ups, people they're not didactic. They're not tutorial-like. People are actually drawn in by the back and forth, and so that's been a major boon for this effort. And then now actually finally, what I'm hearing from a lot of community members is that they don't know where we are in terms of a felt experience of the software. And part of the value of recording the Node Testing Tuesdays is that people can really get a felt sense, like just even if they don't understand every little detail, they can get a felt sense of where the software is in terms of its deployment, how various community members interact with it, what the level of engagement and discourse is. And so these kinds of things provide that sort of direct evidence that the larger, wider community can see. So that's why I think it would be a very, very advantageous to the wider community to be able to have this as a resource.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense to me as well. And we could certainly, we did record yesterday, and we can get that in Patrick's hands, and we can get that in your hands too, Greg, so you can take a look and see what that looks like.
Yeah, so I think Christian is an invaluable resource here. He has lots and lots of experience of being able to make this available, and also Christian can help with working side by side with some folks from Pyrofex and myself or others to make sure that we scrub anything that might look sensitive from the recorded videos. So cool. I mean, maybe we can continue the discussion offline, but I really appreciate your airing your concerns and sort of and I really value this kind of dialogue. It feels informed. It feels based in experience, and there are lots of different goals that are either in conflict or in harmony. We get to work through it together. Awesome. So with that, maybe it's time to launch into the technical update. Meta, are you ready?
I am. Am I coming through clear?
You are.
Great. Excellent. And you can see my screen, right?
Yep.
I can.
Okay, fantastic. All right, let's get on with the technical update. So the development team is in a final push to get the Node 6 release out. We are focusing on stability, performance, and robustness of the system. During the RCon 3, we will be presenting the launch of the testnet, the Genesis block process. So everyone will get to see how the Genesis block will be approved by the validators. And then we will also be performing the test of the system to demonstrate performance. That work is being done by the development team right now. We're pushing to get all of those items feature complete. Bugs are the highest priority for resolution outside of these items that I just discussed. And I am focused on doing triage to check for duplicates on bugs and setting priorities. So if you come across a bug and you want to file it, please check that no one else has reported the issue before you. There is a dashboard with all of the bugs that have been filed in the past 30 days, irrespective of status. The link is in my status report. If you file a bug, please provide your RNode version number, the Git hash, your server logs, your local blockchain, and as much detail as you can about steps to reproduce. If you're signing up for an Atlassian account, please try as much as you can to use your Discord ID. So then if I have a question about a bug or reproducibility, I know where to find you and I can reach out to you on Discord. As an FYI, we originally had sharding and economics scoped into Node 6. These are not ready and will be part of Node 7. We've made great progress during node testing this week. Kelly, my numbers are old here. How many peers did we have and how many attendees?
We had 78 peers. We were so close to 80 in that last 60 seconds, but we didn't quite get there. And there were, I think, 54 people there yesterday.
Very cool. So right now I'm connected to our quote unquote, I want to call it developer testnet, the dev bootstrap here, and I'm running a harness. I'm happy to quickly share with you guys on my screen here. These are my server logs here. We're seeing a lot of chattiness from the communications layer. I'm going to scroll really quickly here. I can show you guys some deploys and proposes since Greg wanted to see. Here's an example of some Roland code running. This is a deploy that my peer made. You can see here, these are the deploys. And here's the deploy messages here. Here's the actual code running. And then here you can see here beginning to send the block. And you'll notice there's 7 blocks. Block was sent to the peers and you fork choice tip. And then you can see here receive requests for blocks from other nodes. Again, we're going to try to suppress those communication messages that you're seeing in the trace so we don't share as much of the IP address information, and we can record the node testing Tuesdays. The Rolang team, they're working on the output of an Ethereum script to scrape the rock balances. They're starting with the work that David Curran did. I have an initial text file that I'm going to check for some correctness of the rock balances and the Ethereum addresses. And we'll be demonstrating this as part of the launch of the testnet, where the Genesis block will contain the addresses of the rock holders to ensure that they get their rev issuance at Genesis. Our registry, name registries and implementation, we're going to be supporting UUIDs and public keys only. We talked a little bit today about public names and the IANA registry today in the Rolang stand-up. So there's a little bit more discussion and dialogue to talk about when and how we're going to implement that and who is going to implement it. We discovered a 4 megabit limit on the gRPC protos. We discovered this during node testing. We discovered it in our internal testing. It manifests as a stream error, and you'll see an error message that the block size is exceeded the top limit. One of the things we're going to do to fix that is planning on compressing the block data before we send it. We realize that this is not going to help for already compressed files, for example, audio files. If they're already heavily compressed, any additional compression will not help. Solving the 4 megabit block limit is going to require a multiple pronged approach. One of the approaches will be compression. Another approach will be more frequent block proposals. And Pavel and Sebastian are coming up with some other ideas on how we can address this issue. We do not believe we can go with a streaming proto architectural change in the Mercury timeframe. So we're going to have to stick with a plan B for now. Block approval protocol is in progress. I expect a pull request to come in the next 48 hours on that. The API to fetch data is complete. Well, the backend plumbing has been put in place. The gRPC API is on the sprint backlog to get done in this sprint, so it's ready for testnet. We found and fixed Rule 591, Untrace Com event. This is a huge shout out to Michael Birch. I mean, this sucker took him like 10 days to find and fix, and it involved creating a unit test, but he got the PR in, it's merged, I verified it. I could not reproduce the issue post his PR, so really excited about that. Cross-shard contracts are in review. They're still unfinished. They have dependencies on the API to fetch data, as well as validator client. Basically, the validator will have to function both as a server and a client of the blockchain in order to make cross-shards work, multi-shards work. We're implementing error handling in Casper, and the unbonding contract is in review. This is a small piece of functionality. It's not going to really be leveraged as part of Node 6. This will become more salient in come Node 7. Storage/Node team. Keith and Alex joined the Node team in this sprint. Very excited to have them joining Node. Again, 4 megabyte limit in the gRPC API when showing blocks. This is a limit coming in from the gRPC architecture directly. Our performance harness is complete. I'm performing UAT today, and I will be hopefully getting my hands on the harness myself so I can play with it. As part of that work, we created a thin gRPC client in Scala for Gatling, which will be faster than the current RNode client. So in order to be able to pump a large number of events into the system, we need a very fast client, and the current client was too slow. The new communications layer is working. Pavel got that tested and merged. We were also able to test it during node testing, and we confirmed that it's working quite well. Again, 78 peers. We discovered some issues around system shutdown. These are being investigated. So if you happen to come across the issue, locate the ticket that's in Jira. I can't remember the name offhand. It's on that dashboard, but indicated steps to reproduce, because we haven't quite nailed down when it exactly is happening. But on occasion, we will notice that ports are left open, and we suspect this has to do with a version mismatch. So if you're running a version of Node that doesn't match the bootstrap or the other ones in the network, somehow we get an orphaned process that's hanging around on shutdown. We're building the gRPC client API for data retrieval, as I indicated. We're also working on monitoring and a paging system for the bootstrap nodes. So the hosted bootstrap nodes need to make sure we need to make sure that they're always up, and monitoring and paging system will go hand in hand with that. And then we're doing some improvement on the memory monitoring metrics. Right now, we've got memory monitoring set up as gauges, and we want to be a little bit more explicit around allocations and deallocations of memory. And so Keith is going to be picking up that work to help us get a little bit more granularity on how the node is consuming and freeing up memory. Roscala, I reported last week that there was an issue with non-deterministic behavior inherent in the parallelism. We have a fix, and there was some refactoring that needed to happen. Tim is still working on that. He expects he needs a couple more days, but then he's going to be spinning on to the Rolang team to work on some of the Casper and Rolang features. With that, I'll turn it over to questions.
Hi, Meta. So I'm curious about the issue concerning compression and block data with regards to the music application. And I recognize this is not something that maybe you can go into details, but I'm curious.
That's a separate set of questions here. If you don't mind, Meta's really focused on node infrastructure, and we can talk about that in a different forum, I think.
Yeah, I'm happy to schedule.
I do have some questions.
Yeah. Yep.
I recognize there was,
but I'm curious. Yeah. No, it's not sensitive. It's just it's slightly different. But Meta, I'm quite interested to know the gRPC limit. What is what's the proposed strategy for getting around this?
I'm still waiting to hear from Pavel on the proposed strategy. I've given him some time we can't do a re-architecture, obviously, between now and Mercury. So he needs to come back with some strategies. If chunking is one of them, it might be a block limit that we may have to implement. We didn't want to do that, but we may have to implement a block size limit to ensure stability of the system, because it's kind of being imposed on us anyway by gRPC. We have to see what the compression will bring about in terms of an optimization there. We've also talked about, if you have a very large deployment that you're doing, potentially chunking that deployment up into smaller pieces and making your Rolang code a little bit more modular, along with more frequent block proposals. So it's a combination.
Remind me the hard limit again. What was the limit?
4 meg.
On the
4 meg. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really small.
Yeah.
So the only thing that
Go ahead, Greg.
The only thing that seems reasonable given the time frames is chunking.
You're probably right on that. I would hazard a guess. I think it's not going to be just one solution, right? I think we need to implement some kind of compression. We probably need to implement some kind of chunking as well. But these kinds of things, it's rarely just one item that's going to solve the problem completely, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is an out of the box solution, which is to go back to the gRPC team and say, "Can you help us out?"
Right.
Possibly.
I mean, I think it's actually not an unreasonable thing to do, is to say, can you you cut us an instance where we don't have this hard limit?
Okay. Mike, are you on the call?
Yeah. Good.
Yes. I don't think
So-
Google Team is responsive in that way, and gRPC is so embedded in everything that they're not going to do custom development.
Well, it's open source.
Then I guess we have the option to go in there and try to fix things.
Yeah, that's also a very real possibility.
Proposing
Great.
forking the code base and doing what we need to do with it.
Exactly.
Nice.
So we have to be in charge of our own destiny here.
Good point.
Anyway, so let's. I'd like to jump on this as soon as possible because it affects a lot of things.
Understood.
Yeah. Okay. Good. No, it's good to bring this to the fore as soon as possible. All right. Any other questions for Meta?
Meta, I had a question on the Rock2Rev script. Well, that
Sure.
where would that? Do we know where that?
Oh, Kenny, you muted before you
Kenny.
finished speaking, I think.
Sorry. Do we know where that contract will be hosted, like on GitHub or that script?
The script will be posted on GitHub when it's complete, and the output of the script will also be made available. The intention is that the Genesis block will be able to be created programmatically by each of the validators themselves. So they will have their own copy of the Genesis block. And when they are sent a Genesis block from the Bootstrap node, they'll be able to compare their copy with the one that the Bootstrap node sends, and then thus sign off.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Did I answer
Do we
your
have a
question?
process for accepting? Yes. And will we have a process for accepting pull requests? Or, yeah.
I believe it would flow with the current process for accepting pull requests.
Could
So
you describe
anyone
that?
can create a pull request, and the development team will review it in a transparent way. And pending review comments, someone from the development team will merge the pull request.
Thank you.
Hey, Meta, it's
Sure.
Ed.
Hi, Ed. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, question about we spoke about yesterday a concern that the root shards stay performant because it will be sort of in the middle of any Rev transactions that cross its subshard, and so my recommendation has been for a long time to put constraints on what goes in the root shard. Have you thought more about that?
Between the time we spoke last week and today, I have not had a chance to take this up with Mike Stay. It is something that is one of the items that is on my list sometime in the testnet timeframe. There are two requirements. One is the one that you've discussed about limiting what can be uploaded to the root shard to maintain performance in terms of binary files, by way of example, or the size of contracts. The second requirement is validators participating in the validator sale, and they're being locked out of unbonding for the contractual period of time. Not talked to Mike about these yet, but you're welcome to discuss it now openly if you wish.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, the other specific recommendation to limit what's in the root shard is to limit the specific or the types of contracts that go in there. For example, if the co-op were to have a white list of the blessed contracts, and for example, to even exclude ERC20 type of tokens up at the root shard, all of these kinds of things would keep the root shard performant. And just to repeat for everyone's benefit, if for example there were a terabyte of content of whatever type that gets into the root shard, then everyone that's running the root shard has to carry around that terabyte of weight for as long as it's leased. And so we want to keep that as light as possible, in my opinion.
Restricting the kind of contracts allowed seems contrary to the vision of RChain.
Yeah, I understand, but that wouldn't be restricted in the subshards. It's just that while the design has a strict hierarchy for the first release anyway, this can't be, you can't undo this decision later. If instead it were restricted initially, that restriction could be relaxed later, but hard to go back.
So I don't see how to enforce that restriction without completely gutting the interpreter for the root shard. I guess we could have a whitelist of contracts. That would really be a very walled garden approach that somebody at RChain would have to take on the role of doing code reviews on the contracts, having the parties who want to deploy, they would not deploy it through a node, but rather would admit it to something like an app store and get their contract approved for upload.
And that sounds very, you hit it on the head, very Apple App Store like, and they're very restrictive in some ways.
Yeah, this could be a whitelist in a contract that the co-op controls, for example. But I hope you all understand my general concern about the root shard staying performant. And this is not a new idea. It's been in the architecture document for 11 months or so.
So I think it's a really interesting set of trade-offs here that I actually really like this particular dialogue. I think we've always suggested that, you know, I mean, it requires consensus to actually deploy, right? So one part of that process could be whether or not, you know, validators are applying any additional criteria with respect to deploys. So that's another possibility where it doesn't actually gut the interpreter, but has to go through an evaluation process, an additional evaluation process as a part of the deployment. But this is a really interesting set of trade-offs, right? If the root shard does have gigantic data requirements, it does have a tendency to slow things down. So there's a tension. There's another tension here between openness and performance that we're going to have to address. But I really appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah, and it's not just storage; it's also bandwidth as well. If the next crypto kitties, crypto doggies goes through there, that doesn't help the rev directly.
No, understood. That's a very good point. Great. Any other questions? Going once? Twice? Okay, so I think we should move on then to get some updates from.
Can we have Kelly talk about RCon 3 really quickly and give her update because she's going to take off soon?
Absolutely.
Would that be all right, Greg?
Yeah, no, that's perfectly reasonable sequence.
Thanks. Is this microphone better? I know it was a little earlier. Is this better, guys?
Oh, much better. Yeah, very clear.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm sitting in a cavernous, now covered in tile office. So a quick update on RCon 3. We published an updated program last week, and we will publish another updated program in the very near future as soon as we have confirmation from all speakers. If you are a potential speaker and you have an email out asking for confirmation, please reply. That would be very helpful. The scholarship committee finished their work early this week. Remember, they did 2 rounds to assure we could distribute as much of that funding as possible, and we're very happy to say that we did very well. Everybody who applied and who was eligible did receive full scholarship. So we had plenty of funding to do that. We did have several unfortunate instances for people in round 1 who discovered that they were not able to secure a visa in time to be there for RCon 3. And so we are working with the co-op board to see if we can either defer that scholarship or apply it for future RCon 4. Turns out now is the time for them to be securing visas for RCon 4, which will take place later this year. There's a concert that is going to be given as part of the program, and that information is on the conference page. We're certainly excited to welcome the Adrian Blue Trio to perform for people who are at the conference. Only people who hold conference tickets will be invited to come. So if you are waiting to decide if you'd like to come and that interests you, please register today. A number of marketing efforts are out there to increase participation, working through a variety of channels, and we are seeing positive changes in the registration day over day. I don't have an updated number with me just now, but we saw a 38% increase last week, and I anticipate seeing a similar level of increase as we come to the end of this week. Happy to take any questions if there are any. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly. I know that RChain Europe held was at an RChain meetup yesterday, I think it was, and there was a lot of good interest in RChain generally, but specifically in RCon 3. So I think we're also starting to get some boots on the ground interest in Berlin and around Europe. So I think we'll start to see some uptake in the participation from that side very soon. Great. Thanks for that. And now let's, if we can get an update from Reflective and then Pythia, I'd appreciate it.
Hey everybody, this is Greg. We're working on a few deals that we'll be announcing in the next couple of weeks. As summer rolls through, we're sort of scattered everywhere. So those deals will start to come in, and we'll have some good announcements in the next couple of weeks on that. One announcement for an event that's happening tonight at the Reflective and RChain space down in Pioneer Square in Seattle. The Designers in Blockchain is happening at 6:30 p.m. tonight. So you're welcome to come to that. As many of you know, Reflective is coordinating and we're onboarding on the validator side and leading the sales side of things. So things are moving very quickly. We've got CRM system up and running via HubSpot. The KYC system is getting in place. All the inquiries that have come in, whether they're coming into Greg or whether they're coming into the staking at RChain.coop email address or wherever they are, we've taken care of all of those. We've reached out to everybody. So if there's anybody out there that has sent something in to anybody and you haven't heard from RChain on any of that, please let us know. So hit an email back to us and we'll make sure to get that picked up. But I believe that we've got everything in the works for that. The website is in the works as well. So it's a site that'll sit on top of what you see out there right now. That should be up in the next couple of weeks. So everything's moving along really well for that. Regarding DevCon, to sort of follow up on what Kelly was talking about, I haven't seen the latest numbers, but I know we've got 20 plus, if not 25 different people that are coming on behalf of Reflective. So our portfolio companies and other developers, I expect that number to go up quite a bit. We're going to start coordinating, Kelly, so you'll know. Rebecca will start working that through to make sure that all of those folks are actually registered and in so that we can cross-match them to make sure. The whole Reflective team is going to be in Berlin for that entire week. So we've got Reflective Ventures lounge is going to be set up at the conference itself. So if anybody would like to meet with us, please start to send those emails over to us now, and we'll get that on the books. But we will be on site at the conference center with sort of a little lounge area that we've got there. Other than that, I think that's about it. Any questions?
Not a question, but I just wanted to give a shout out for your responsiveness on the validator sale. I know we had a good kickoff meeting on Monday, and I was really happy to be able to talk to the team on Monday, and just I felt a great degree of comfort and confidence because the team was just so responsive and so on top of things. And
thank you.
It's just it's amazing. It has a qualitatively different feel than what we had on the last runaway trade private sale.
We learned a lot. So
Yeah.
no, these guys are on it, and they've got pros that are working on the side to do this. So we're going to nail it like we do every project that we take on. There is no doubt about that we have the confidence that we will knock this one out of the park. It'll be
awesome. Good. Awesome. No, I'm very excited. It's really good, especially given the downturn in the crypto market. It's amazing that we've got so much response from the market. I'm just astounded at the level of response. So for those people who are in, go ahead.
Yeah, can I butt in here for just 2 seconds? It would be really important for the whole entire community, anybody that's interested in the validator program or the process, please do not email Greg directly. Email staking at RChain.coop. It puts that into our CRM system automatically, and it gives us the ability to assign an account manager that we can communicate with you, and that way you won't get lost. I'm sure Greg gets several hundred, if not thousands, of emails a day, and it's quite possible that he may miss something. So if you want to participate, please use that email. Don't email Greg directly in regards to the validator stuff. I mean, you can copy him if you want, but make sure you use that email address. It's staking@rchain.coop.
Yeah, I don't mind, and I do scour my inbox on a daily basis. But yeah, so if people want my attention, it's okay to CC me, and I will make sure that I address every one of those personally. But you're right. On Friday, my inbox exploded with validator requests. I mean, it made me happy to see how much interest there was, but I had to personally forward every single one of them off to staking at RChain.coop in order to get it in the pipeline.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good fun, actually. It made me feel good to know how much interest there was. Yeah. So yeah. Make sure I'm happy to be kept in the loop, but make sure that you get it out to staking at RChain.coop. So with that, let me turn it over to Pythia. Oh, sorry. There's one more thing. I did want to mention that I'm having a call with the reflective companies on Thursday. So we'll be talking them through the developments on the Node software and giving them the old cheerleader approach to make sure that they all get into Node testing Tuesday.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Greg, and thanks for mentioning that. That is, we had more of our portfolios come onto the call. I was on Tuesday, and by the way, Kelly, Matt, I love the way that you guys run that. It's very informative and it helps out. I heard from several of the companies for the updates and how you guys are doing that. So kudos to you guys and how you're flowing that through. We're going to continue to push as many of our portfolios over there as we can. And Greg, I know there's a lot of folks that are antsy to talk to you on Thursday, and we'll have questions for you. So we'll have a full room for you.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. All right, now we can jump over to Pythia. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Awesome.
Well, one more thing. Sorry. One more thing, one last thing. Greg H., with respect to the companies, I want to just call out, please bring your rolling contracts to Testing Tuesday. I want to start seeing some of their contracts deployed. We want to flesh out any issues you may have running that rolling against the system. That's the last point I want to make.
That's the message I'll be giving to them on Thursday is,
Thank you.
Come with your rolling on. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, will do.
All right, so an update on our Pythia pitch program. We've renamed what we're calling our pitch days and screenings. One of the questions that had come back to me was, a little more fine-grained of what we're doing with people. So just some stats and some interesting things, and it's probably based on the team's network. We've looked at over 100 companies in the last month through our funnel. 15 are going through formal due diligence. That means our 3-step process. We're down to 3 term sheets for those companies. And most of them, almost all of them, are later stage tech companies that are either running on some blockchain or have some existing technology, and they're making the conscious decision. And we always bring this up in our first contact, to migrate to RChain, or to at least add RChain to their tech stack, because they're finding that they're just bumping their heads on the ceiling of other blockchains. So that's just an interesting bit of information. 28% of them are international. A lot of that's coming out of our Vancouver pitch day. 40% are from the US outside of Washington, and about a third come from Washington State. So it just sort of says where the marketing, where the reach is. We've built good relationships with Ernst & Young from our Vancouver pitch program, and we've gotten about 4 different companies from them. And then PwC, my old alma mater, is also feeding us deals from their program in Zug, Switzerland. They established a full blockchain and crypto unit there. So we're working pretty closely with them. And we saw, and Greg, I really want to sit down and show you this music company. It is the next generation of reporting, right? So I think it would be hugely complementary with all the things that you've brought forward in the music industry, and these guys come out of the industry itself. The San Francisco event that will be November 15th that we're doing with the Trade and Investment Office from the UK. Please do send your pitches to pitches@pythia.com if you'd like to be considered for that, and that will be and that closes at the end of this month. So I need to get those by August 30th so the team can review them and do a formal invite. And that is the update from us. Any questions?
Awesome. I really appreciate it, Lawrence. Thank you for that update. It's really good to get that level of specificity. I know that it helps a lot of people, and it helps me get things organized and straight in my head. So I want to turn attention now to some of the results from the H3 Uni process. I have to say the H3 Uni process was I think a lot of people felt very good about that process. It really helped surface a lot of issues. One of the things that it helped surface was just how much we've been in execution mode, and how a lot of people have come in during execution mode and weren't connected to those original communications which communicated the vision. So a lot of people, have sort of felt thrown in at the deep end without really understanding the wider vision, and really needed a refresh on the vision. And so I wanted to take a few minutes here and now to talk about that, and we'll be talking about that in more detail at RCon 3, and then again at the member meeting in October 24th. but here and now we can remind ourselves of the vision, right? So and it's a multi-layered vision, and it's each layer has its own share of complexity. So at the highest level, what we've sort of set out for ourselves is rebooting the coordination technologies, right? So we see our offering as not just rebooting what blockchain does, right? So we reboot the blockchain. We recognize that blockchain has the potential to reboot the financial industry, which is a significant way that we coordinate each other, but also sort of a global compute infrastructure, right? So that's part of our reboot of those coordination technologies. In addition, we recognize that other blockchain efforts have been somewhat stymied by difficult choices around governance, which is why we feel it's really important to reboot governance, and that's why we have the co-op structure, and why we're rolling out a co-op structure around the globe to make sure that we're sort of jurisdictionally robust. So we're rebooting those coordination mechanisms and infrastructure, and then thirdly, we're rebooting the sort of social media aspects, and that in terms of on the ground stuff, that begins with the notion of on-chain identity and a notion of on-chain tools that help with the capture and expression of sentiment. So do you like this proposal? What's the reputation for these ideas, these organizations, these parties, and then also the expression and capture of will. So everything from being able to just do basic on-chain voting to more sophisticated things like plurality, or even more sophisticated things beyond that. So at the highest level, what we're talking about is rebooting coordination technologies, and we're doing so because we recognize that there are some very, very serious issues that require a much higher level of coordination. So we've talked about things like climate change, but there are other issues in general that require a much higher level of coordination than we've currently seen. So that's at the high level of the vision. At the next level down, of course, we have to roll out the technology and the network infrastructure. So it's not just software; it's also actual machines that run the software and those specs, and as well as a network of organizations and individuals that are going to do the operations for that. So that's a part of what we're doing, as you've seen with Node Testing Tuesday and each of the node releases, but also with the validator sale, right? So that's a part of the execution against that next level out. And then that ties in to the roadmap vision that we laid out at the member meeting in October of last year, right? Which goes all the way out to Jupiter. and so starting from Mercury and what the promises are there, and out through Venus. So the Mercury promises were very, very clear, very crisp. We have enough of the blockchain architecture that people can roll out token and wallet contracts across hundreds or low thousands of nodes. Right, that was our promise, and with particular transaction rates. That was our promise, and that's what we're delivering. And when we get to Venus, our promise has been to expand the correct by construction methodology that goes into the platform out to user level contracts, so that people can get the benefits of our behavioral type system and just the tip of the iceberg of the benefits of the ladle algorithm, to make sure that user defined smart contracts in Rolang can be correct by construction. So that gets us out through Venus, and then the rest of the roadmap I articulated there, but we'll be refreshing that. And then the next level down has to do, or next level out in terms of an onion, is a rich and robust ecosystem, right? So, and this has to do with the viability of the network, right? So, I talked last time, and I want to remind everyone, the requirement here is that we have an economically viable network. So it's not enough to say build it and they will come, right? So what does it mean to build it? Well, we build a network that's effectively 1,000 times better throughput, but that doesn't capture. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient, right? So in terms of the transaction volumes that we need, it's an attractive thing, but it doesn't guarantee that we get the kinds of transaction volumes that we want, right? So the next piece of the four-pillared architecture here is that the transaction rates are considerably lower, right, than similar kinds of networks. So if we did a comparison to Ethereum, what we want to do is come out at about a third of what the transaction rates are there, and drive down to a tenth as we get more and more volume. So that's, again, it's attractive. It's one of the things that will attract the kinds of volumes, but it doesn't guarantee the kinds of volumes. So the next pillar is making sure that we have a rich ecosystem, and that's exactly what we've been talking about when we talk each week to reflect, via the reflective companies and the Pythia companies. So already we're just shy of about 30 companies signed on to build on top of the network, and we're engaged with them now to start having them pound on the system to demonstrate both the nature of the system and how that meets with their business requirements. We're also supporting those with the development of a solutions group within RChain. We just brought on Ned Robinson to head up the solutions group, who will work through the co-op to make sure that all of these companies, have what they need to succeed. So we're building this rich ecosystem, which again, it doesn't guarantee the transaction volumes, but it certainly is taking more of our destiny in our own hands. And then finally, we are delivering a killer app, right? We're delivering at least one application which we know is a watershed moment in its own industry. And so we've talked a little bit about that, and we know that if that takes off in the way that we've seen other applications in that space take off, that alone will generate millions and millions of transactions. So that's the four-pillared approach at the next level down. So hopefully that makes sense. And this is the kind of vision that we've been marching towards. There's a high-level vision, there's a next level down vision, and a next level down from there. And hopefully people can see that each of these components fit together in an organic whole. It's not so much that you can't take a sort of tunnel vision approach here. You have to be able to see the system as a whole in order to assure its viability, right? You have to be able to see how the seed lands in the soil and what the conditions in the soil and the weather are before that seed will take root. And that's what's been our aim and our goal from the beginning. So hopefully that helps with some of the feedback that we got from within RChain, and also across the community. And we'll be reiterating that and fleshing that out. But I was very, very encouraged by that call for a refresh of the vision, and not the least of which, because in this market, in this climate, we really, really begin to see who's here and for what reasons. When the crypto market, drops the way it does, we begin to understand who's here for the cash, and who's here for the vision. So I felt like it was a perfect timing that the community called for a refresh of the vision, just at the moment when sort of we saw this shift in the market, because it really clarifies, I think, for all of us, what our aims and our goals are together. So any questions or comments about that?
It leads to a slogan, Greg: "Come for the cash, stay for the vision."
I second that. Awesome slogan.
I love it. Yeah, I guess it's better that way around than the other.
Hey, Greg, are you going to be at the R House for a while, or are you taking off after this? If you're not already there.
I'm here now. I do have to step away for a little bit, but I'll probably be back later.
Okay. Can you just text me when you are there? So I want to show you the edits from yesterday and talk to you about a few things.
Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. So that, yes, go ahead.
Hi, this is Jonathan. I want to give a couple quick updates, including but not exclusively RChain Asia. First of all, I want to bring everybody's attention to issue 888 in GitHub that I have set up. I'm looking to find any and all information about any party in RChain that is interested in Oracle services for their platform or for their activities on RChain. Please pile in on issue 888 in GitHub. We have expert people from the Ethereum network who have successfully launched Oracle services from Wolfram Alpha, and we want to provide that kind of service to everybody in RChain. Number two, we've started a new weekly climate change and ecological sustainability discussion group for RChain. And we've already had participation from one of the top 5 software developers on for planetary sustainability, and that will be a weekly channel that I will have Ian add to the weekly update.
So is there a Zoom call around this, Jonathan?
Yes, it'll be a Zoom call.
Okay.
So I have a question. I mean, are you streaming these, recording them? Because anybody can propose a working group in a Zoom meeting, right? And then,
of course. No. As soon as we set it up for a regular date, I definitely want you to record those, Christian.
That's not a problem. I'm just wondering from a protocol level because let's say I want to do, I don't know, a Zoom call about like cars or something. It's like, well, that's not going to go on the member calendar. So I'm just asking, like, how do we get? I have no problem recording it. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is like, what is the process of things actually going to a calendar in Discord, right? Because that calendar is seen by hundreds of people. You know, understand what I'm saying? So like, is that just Ian's decision, or is that like Greg's decision, or is that like Meta's decision? Like, whose decision is that?
Let's you and I talk about that offline.
No
so
problem.
Very quickly, I want to go through some RChain Asia updates. We've had our 5th weekly RChain Asia conversation, and it went very well. Some of the things that came up were that there's a great interest in having some translation processes. So we're going to be working with getting all of the best RChain promotional opportunities and materials translated to Chinese, Korean, and Japanese. We're actively trying to recruit members from China, from Korea and Japan, who where we have very little membership currently. There's been a great deal of discussion within the RChain Chinese community about why bother becoming an RChain member. So we're trying to better articulate what the benefits are of membership. And I think that's something that should probably be done for all of RChain. we really need to get people to sign on board and not just be passive members or passive participants. Another thing that's come up a lot in the RChain Asia community is the whole process of onboarding and how confusing it is to become an active participant in RChain. And Greg alluded to this in his discussion about the outcomes from the H3 Uni. So I'm actually creating a whole bunch of articles and principles in the RChain Asia materials that will make certain guarantees about the onboarding process and giving support for people to really understand how to get on board with RChain, because it is really, really, really complicated. And we shouldn't, those of us that have survived that onboarding process should not forget how hard it was to really get on board. And Enzo from the RChain Asia community is working on a website for RChain 101 and an RChain start guide that will help with this as well. I'm sorry, it's like 3 a.m. here in Asia, so I'm a little bit tired. And I'm almost finalizing a contract with a person who will be leading the RChain Asia efforts. This person is fluent in English, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean, and will be working very closely with me and will be transitioning from me the responsibilities that I've taken on for RChain Asia activities. So that is my update.
Sweet.
Thanks very much. Fantastic. Appreciate that. So, Alan, do you have
yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, Greg. First of all, I want to second what Jonathan said about RChain Asia. It arose out of the bounty system, or has a similar structure. I attended the meeting last time. It's an awesome meeting. Everybody should attend. I also want to advertise issue 888, the Oracle services. It's a more substantial, these are kind of more substantial projects than I think the bounty system has taken on in the past, because they require a lot of judgment. Another thing that I'd like to advertise is the Cooperation Laboratory server. We've been doing interesting things there. There's some work on Rolang.js, which is a way of, it's an API to the blockchain. We've been working on voting systems, primarily weighted voting systems. I want to advertise Tim Bansimer's meeting in Berlin. It's going to be on December 7th through 9th. dgov.earth, dgov.earth. If people are able to go there and it doesn't interfere with Mercury launch, please consider going. Governance is the most important thing that we do. Please look at our bounty system materials in the GitHub. Yes, I want to say one thing about some discussion that Greg and Glenn Braun brought to the design of computational calculi meeting, namely the possibility that smart contracts in Rolang will be able to express will and sentiment. These are very, very, very important things. There was a meetup in which Tim Bansimer discussed these. The links will be posted. They haven't been posted yet. It was an awesome meeting in Berlin. Please take a look at that. And thank you so much for listening to the update.
Thanks very much, Alan. I appreciate it. Awesome. So with that, onward and upward. We have a lot to do, and I'm ready to get back over to executing. Thanks everyone for your time and attention, and looking forward to seeing all of you at RCon 3. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.